All right, that concludes our Legislative District 2 comments, and we're going to move on to the Brown County Commission. And I could just move on, but I want to make sure that you guys understand the rules. And, and they are as follows. Candidates will begin by making an introductory remark. Each candidate is asked to give their remarks at a 3-minute or less time. We will then proceed with written questions submitted by the audience, which will be answered with a time limit of less than 2 minutes. Lastly, candidates will provide a 1-minute closing comment. The time limits will be strictly observed. Today's timekeeper will hold up cards visible to the speaker, indicating how much time is remaining. When the stop card is shown and it is read, the speaker must wrap up their statement. This allows all the candidates equal time to express their views. We ask that the candidates do not interrupt each other and that the audience refrains from applauding and or any way demonstrating support or non-support for any candidate. Written questions will come from the audience at this forum. Questions will be for all the candidates or for one specific candidate. The moderator will restate the questions, and with that, we'll get this section of our forum rolling right now with our Brown County Commissioners. And I didn't pick which order, but Dwayne, all right, Rachel will go first.
Well, first I just want to say thank you to the Women League of Voters and the Chamber for sponsoring this event today. Appreciate you guys doing that, and for all of you folks who took the time to come out. So thank you to you guys. My name's Rachel Kipley. I've been on the Brown County Commission. This is actually my first term, concluding that. So my husband and I farm north of town, about 5 miles. We've got 4 children, Noah and Titus. They're in 4th and 2nd grade respectively at C.C. Lee. And then Aaron is 3 and Mariah is Aaron's 4 and Mariah's 2. Along with having a cow-calf operation and grain farm, we also have the H&R Block in town where we both do taxes. When I first decided to run for county commission about 3.5, 4 years ago, the reason was because of the roads. We'd been through that wet spell, and all of the county road structures seemed to be crumbling before us. Living just north of town, we were a mile off one of the county roads, and that particular one at the time, one of the county's solutions for fixing those roads with limited funds was just putting gravel on top of the asphalt. I was complaining about it, and I thought, well, I shouldn't just complain, I got to get more involved. So that's kind of what motivated me to run for county commission at that point, and it's been really rewarding the last 3 years. I feel like we've made some really big successes, but there's more to do. In particularly due to the reorganization of personnel and implementation of a long-term strategy there in the highway department, we've seen more miles maintained, more bridges built, and more culverts put in. So I think that's one of the big successes. But like I said, there's obviously a lot more work to do in the county, and we've been blessed with drier weather, so that's helped out. Another area that I'm passionate about is our county fair. We've got such a successful fair here. My husband and I and the kids, we camp out there all week. There's some growing pains, obviously, with our ticket issues and some other things, but nothing that we can't get over. We've really had some successes out there, and I've kind of been of the mindset that to have a successful fair, we need to make sure we have the right fair board members and leadership out there, and then just kind of step back and let them do their thing, because they know what's best for it, and we just provide insight when they need it, but they're doing a great job for us. As overseers of your tax money, commissioners should be held accountable for every penny. If you follow my voting record, you'll see that I continue to support limited county spending to what's essential and necessary. Naturally, I'm concerned about the large purchases, but you'll see me tend to scrutinize the really small ones too, because I tend to follow that old adage that if you're worried about or if you're watchful of the pennies, the dollars seem to take care of themselves. So I look forward to any questions you guys might have this morning, and I appreciate you being here.
Good morning. I'm Dwayne Sutton, Brown County Commissioner, and running for a 3rd term as a commissioner. I want to thank the League of Women Voters and the Aberdeen Area Chamber for again putting on this legislative forum, candidate forum. This is my 7th forum. I ran for the legislature 4 different times, so I attended this forum as a legislative candidate, and now this is my 3rd time as a commission candidate. So I always look forward to the opportunity to answer questions and let people know who I am and what I stand for and the reason I'm running. I've lived in Aberdeen since 1975. My wife Shelley and I have 6 kids and 5 grandkids. For the first time in my life, they're all gainfully employed, my kids, and so that's kind of a milestone. I've owned the millstone since 1975, and I continue to work in that on a daily basis along with my brother, and it's been a rewarding challenge to live in Aberdeen and work in Aberdeen. We're fortunate to be part of a very growing and vibrant region. A couple weeks ago, I was reelected as president of the State Association of County Commissioners. So it's something I've taken seriously through the last couple legislative processes. We have been very successful in securing additional funding for South Dakota counties. While I know that hits pocketbooks and everyone's paying a little bit more in the way of gas tax and license plates, those dollars are coming directly back to the counties to help us maintain the roads, help us build new bridges, and also help at the same time help the state with their infrastructure needs. So I think the price that we're paying in increased fees, there's evidence of those funds being used for exactly what they're supposed to be used for, and that's improving the infrastructure. And I'm proud of the fact that South Dakota counties, for the very first time this last legislative session, were able to secure a small portion of an alcohol tax, which will be a steady ongoing income source for South Dakota counties. The reason I'm running is we've got a lot of great things going in Brown County. The Brown County Fair continues to be a success. Recently, or last spring, when they announced the addition of the soybean plant, that is going to be a huge boon for our area. It's going to provide producers for hundreds of miles around the opportunity to save on transportation costs and be able to get their soybeans processed locally instead of ship them out to Iowa and Minnesota. The beef plant continues to grow and ramping up production every day. So there's a lot of great things happening in Brown County. I'd like to be part of that continued growth and success, and I look forward to the questions that you're going to be providing today. Thank you.
All right, question number 1, and we'll just go in the same order, if that's right, for the first time, and then we'll go the next way the next time. We'll let them switch off on who goes first. So this time, Rachel can go first. What issue needs to take priority for the county in the next year?
I don't know that I can pick just one issue. There's so many things going on right now. Obviously, we've been working really closely with our state's attorney's office and our sheriff's department with the uptick in crime. Just trying to make sure we're in the process of doing the 3rd phase of a jail renovation and trying to find the dollars to make sure that we keep the folks that need to be behind bars, and to help with the rehabilitation of those folks, as we talked earlier in the forum with some of the drug addictions and things like that. I guess in the next year, I see that being the biggest thing because our budget cannot handle the increase in crime as far as when you take it from the legal standpoint, because you're paying for both sides of things. You're paying for the prosecutors in the state's attorney's office. You're paying for those folks who can't afford their own attorney. So all of the legal aspects of it, the incarceration aspect of it, and then, you know, like your 24/7 and some of those things. So I guess I see that being the biggest issue is just how we're going to deal with that.
I agree with Rachel. A couple of the things that we look at on a statewide basis and also on the national level through the National Association of Counties is the increased prescription drugs and opioid abuse that's taking place, and that's affecting South Dakotans to a large degree. Most of the people that are in the west end of our building over here in the jails, the large percentage of those people are there on drug-related charges. So as you heard earlier from the legislative perspective, the legislature needs to look at what we can possibly do to cut down on the occupancy in the county jails, because it's costing all of you a ton of money to keep these people locked up, waiting for trial and then through the trial and so on. So we need to look at possible rehabilitation. We need to do a better job with treating those with mental health issues. We're really in a pickle on a state level because there's so few mental health experts, and they all have to travel to Yankton to be treated, and that's something we as a county organization really need to work with legislators on fixing, because I think we need mental health professionals more regionally placed, like in Rapid City, Aberdeen, and Pierre, so that the travel, the distance isn't so extreme. Somebody asked me earlier if I was ready for the winter of 2017. The winter of 97 was the winter from hell. The winter of 07, we had huge rains, storms, and so on. So it seems like every 10 years, be ready for a storm or a weather event. So I think the last few years we've been able to be proactive instead of reactive to conditions, and that's led to the improvements that Rachel says we've been able to make on our roads and bridges and so on. So those are a few of the issues we'll be looking at.
And before I ask the next question, I did want to say that Chris Gunther never sent a statement to us and is not here, so I'll have no statement from her, and we won't have her answer any questions. Somebody said that a statement was coming, but it's not here, so it's an invisible statement. What is your opinion on the establishment of an independent commission to set legislative boundaries? That would be Amendment T.
I was in the legislature for 8 years, and I was there when we redistricted, and I know there's a lot of criticism on the way it's gerrymandered. It's dictated strictly by population, and if everyone thinks that the present system doesn't look good and it's gerrymandered, I can guarantee you in 2021, after the 2020 census, that it'll look worse. Sioux Falls will continue to grow. The rural districts will continue to get more rural. So if you think they're gerrymandered now, a commission, the legislature, whoever, will be charged with keeping those districts equalized population from a population perspective. So there are no easy answers. You've got to make sure everyone is represented fairly and equally. So the fact that there's criticism now that District 3 goes all the way from Hamlin County up here to Brown County. Be careful. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Sioux Falls districts will continue to get smaller because of population. Rural districts will continue to get larger. And a commission, the legislature, whoever you put in charge of that, is going to be faced with that same challenge. So I question whether that'll really solve anything, but time will tell. I wish them luck.
When I worked for then Governor Janklow down in Pierre it would have been around 2001, they were doing the redistricting at that point using the ArcView GIS to do different maps, and it was interesting being able to be a part of that because you can break down those layers by anything. I mean, you can do it by how many political party folks from each party are in each precinct. So I haven't determined yet how I'm voting on that because I can see where people are frustrated. I myself, I'm in District 2, and we gerrymander all the way around Aberdeen. It goes all the way up to Claremont in northern Brown County, around Aberdeen, and then down south of Watertown. So I get frustrated because I'm lucky enough that I know my legislators, so I can still contact them. But that's a long way. That's a lot of miles that those folks have to travel. So I haven't determined how I'm going to vote on that, but I can definitely see both sides of it.
Aberdeen City recently conducted a salary survey, and it was determined salaries need to be adjusted. Do you feel a salary survey should be completed for the county employees? You gonna come back?
Well, if you ask them, I think they're all underpaid is what they'll probably say. I think those are valuable. We do have a survey system in place where we can survey our employees on different issues. We have not done, like you said, the salary survey, but we have a pretty open door policy where people will come in and say, hey, this person or that person needs a bump in pay. So I feel like with our 160 full-time employees that people are very receptive and come in and talk to us about those things. I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I don't think it's anything we need to do right now.
We already have in place a salary study from across the state on a county level. We can go in and we can take a look at what your welfare directors make in each county, highway superintendents, all the elected officials. We have all that information. And if you compare the notes, Brown County employees are fairly well compensated from a statewide standpoint. Some of the discrepancies may be you will have a veteran service officer, for example, who has additional responsibilities in other counties. So that may influence the wage that they get paid. They may also be the welfare director or the emergency management director in some other counties. So you have to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. But for the most part, I think in Brown County we do a good job of researching what other counties make, especially other like size and populated counties. And so I think we try and do a good job of keeping our wages fair and equitable, knowing full well that we have to pay a certain amount to certain positions because of the demand for those type of positions. But I think like Rachel said, if you ask anybody, everyone's underpaid. But I think we've been fairly equitable in our salary process to our Brown County employees.
When there's only 2 instead of 6, the questions go quicker, don't they? All right. What is your opinion of nonpartisan primary elections like Amendment 5?
I've often wondered why at the county level it's a partisan position, but it is what it is. I really don't think there's a lot of issues. I know when I was in the legislature there were political issues. Not very many, not near as many as there are today. I don't envy the legislators at all. I wouldn't want to be part of their process just because it has gotten fairly political. But on the county level, I really don't think that should be a political position. I think if you go strictly nonpartisan at all levels, I really don't think that's going to accomplish what people hope it will accomplish. I think you need the party affiliation so that people have an idea of philosophically what people believe in and what your thoughts are, because there are 2 distinct parties in South Dakota, each with their own sets of values and philosophical differences. But on the grand scheme of things, in South Dakota, we are not nearly as political as they are on the national level. So I've always been proud of the fact that when I was in Pierre, it was stated earlier for legislators, at the end of the day, everyone's friends. You have your arguments on the House or Senate floor, but at the end of the day, you go to reception, you stand around and you talk and recap the day, and it's not nearly as political as it could be.
As far as Amendment 5 goes, I kind of classify county commissioners in the same boat as city councilmen, where your issues deal more with things with the folks that live near you in a district, and I don't think it is political, to echo kind of what Dwayne said. But I would be opposed to 5 because, like I said, in District 2, where you gerrymander so much, a lot of times you don't get the chance to maybe meet your legislator, and so this gives you at least some basic knowledge of what their principles are and what their beliefs are. So I guess I would be opposed to having that.
Do you feel that the fairgrounds is ADA compliant during the fair?
As with anywhere, I think there's things that we could do better. We've tried to go increase the number of handicap spaces, make the larger golf carts, things like that, that are accessible, that people can get on if they need to get around the fairgrounds. Is there room to grow? Absolutely. Are there other things we should be looking at? Yes. But it is tough also to, I mean, we can't asphalt the entire fairgrounds. It just wouldn't, it wouldn't make sense to lose all that green space for other things that we're trying to do out there. So we're continually working with the leadership and the Fair Board to try to get better at it. So we'll do that, and if there's suggestions from you folks, we'd sure like to hear them.
Depends on how much mud there is. That's the issue we ran into this year. I mean, we had a mess at the fairgrounds, but there was nothing any of us could do about that. The weather is totally out of our control. Like Rachel said, there are some things that we've tried to do and will continue to do better. We went to the 6 and 8 seat golf carts to try and shuttle more people from the handicap parking area into the fairgrounds. When I look around and see the age of a lot of the attendees, you know, I feel bad that they have to either walk or take carts as far as they do. There's always things we can do better. Unfortunately, the success of the fair continues to grow. Parking will always be an issue unless we're able to secure some additional parking or land around the fairgrounds. Though that's about our only option, is to increase the size so that we have more handicap parking closer to the midway, closer to the expo building, closer to the tents. And that's really the only thing that's going to help the ADA accessibility. You know, as far as the grandstands, we've got the seating area for wheelchairs and ramps and so on. All the other buildings are ADA compliant. And as far as getting around, that's the biggest challenge we have, is the distance they have to travel. It's always a work in progress.
Aha. The final question of the day. What are you doing to improve our deteriorated roads and bridges?
As I stated earlier, we were able to secure a fairly large amount of new revenue, and that's what it was necessary to put more money into roads. We couldn't have done it with our current budget and the way our budget process works. County budgets are froze, and they're limited to 3% increase or the CPI, whichever is less. And this year we're at a 0 CPI, so we're faced with 0 increase from a levy standpoint, and the only thing we got was the new growth, and even our growth was down this year. Roads and bridges are extremely expensive. The state changed the way they send the money out to the counties. We now get the money directly from the state, where before it used to come through the state but have federal guidelines tied to it and federal requirements. By eliminating the federal requirements, we've been able to save on engineering costs and the costs associated with environmental studies and those kind of things. So we're able to put more money on the road, into the bridges, into the culverts, into the resurfacing, and we have made a tremendous amount of progress in the last couple of years. We hope that continues. We've got a highway superintendent that has a different philosophy now than prior. So we're really working hard to come up with better ways of surfacing the roads. We're grinding up the roads that were never ground before. And those people that are experiencing those things are actually saying, we've got a lot better road now than we did when it was beat up and broken up asphalt. So we continue to make wide progress across the county, and I think people are a lot happier today than they were 3-4 years ago, to say the least.
The biggest thing is that like Dwayne had mentioned, the philosophy has just changed. We used to say, we only have this, we can't afford any of that. Now we look at the pool of money and we say, let's focus on what we can do instead of what we can't do. So just a general philosophy change there. Changeover in personnel has helped out. I was really excited, being a new time commissioner 3.5 years ago, to come on board and have my fellow commissioners were receptive to a new idea. Let's try a cost share. I had campaigned on it 4 years ago, and basically we had some stretches in the county where folks didn't want it milled up. They had seen on the plan it was supposed to be milled up. They were willing to get their neighbors together and put in half of the cost of retopping the road. And so we did that on a stretch up on County Road 9, which it's just north, take 281 up there, and it's 11 miles of road. And now, you know, we didn't know this at the time, but we lost our vet up in Frederick. So the northern part of Brown County has no veterinary service. So what had happened was the Hosmer vet was looking at moving over here, and now we're going to have a new veterinary on that blacktop road that we were able to blacktop 3 years ago because of that cost share deal. And when I had the chance to speak with them, I'd said, would you have moved there had that been ground up as it was intended? And he said, no way, I would have went to the next county. So I agree with Dwayne. There's got to be some times where we pick and choose which roads it is that we can save. And I think our new superintendent is really good at that. And in fact, there's a stretch of road where he tried 3 different things, combinations of what he can do there, and he's just trying to see which is the most effective. And so I think that's really important because it's not the same old science. Things are changing, and we got to change with it. So thank you.
And now the candidates will provide a 1-minute closing comment, and we started with Rachel, so we'll let Dwayne start us on the close.
I'm running for re-election because I think we've accomplished a lot in the last 8 years, and I would like to be part of the continued growth and development in Brown County for the next 4 years. A couple things that I'm really proud of is we, this summer, earlier this year, we were able to replace the gates up at Tacoma on the Crow Creek ditch. The structure that was there was just under 100 years old. We've replaced it with a newly designed, much safer, much more accessible structure that hopefully will last another 100 years. But that's something that was sorely needed. We found a way to do it. We partnered with the James River Water Development District and the state of South Dakota, put our own money into it, and we got a structure that I think everyone could be proud of. We continue to work towards the 3rd phase of the jail renovation. That's going to make for a much safer place for our employees and the inmates to serve. So I'm proud of what we've done, and I'd look forward to serving you the next 4 years and appreciate your vote. Thank you.
What I like best about being a county commissioner is the direct local impact. We can make a decision on a Tuesday morning when we meet, and within a week things are starting to roll with it. So I appreciate that. I've lived in Brown County, went to Northern State University, went to school here. We're raising our kids here. We farm here. We have a business here. And so I want to make decisions that are going to positively impact the county going into the future. And I hope you've seen the decisions that I've made the last term doing that. And I ask for your vote in November. Appreciate you coming today. Thank you.
Before I give closing remarks, let's give a round of applause to our candidates. This actually concludes our 2016 General Election Candidate Forum. We had our District 2 and 3 House and Senate people, plus our Brown County Commission. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Aberdeen Area Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank each of you today and all of the candidates for participating, and thank you, the audience, for your interest and your involvement in this process. Please remember to vote on November 8th or by absentee beforehand. Remember, the Chamber will be active with State of the State, Government Affairs with Mike Bockerny and Devin Reintz, and Cracker Barrel's coming up. That's coming up just really soon, right after the first of the year. Excitement is here. Politics are here, and I guess there's a big debate next week. Don't know who's debating, but better be there for that. Thanks.